Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give all the powers to chant. Jah give all the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right here, sir. Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right here, sir.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I do. Empress on the front line, we need you. Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Empress Manel, a lion scientist. Oh, you're wrong. Universally unfold, be told. Oh. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yo, blazing fire, yeah man, this is Racindio out of Belize, and the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, right? Yeah man, we blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Racindio said that, blazing fire, lion boy.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes, wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice, because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Yeah, Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie the first. The people going breast many. Well, even if the
stars they fall, and the moon turn into blood. But to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets them flood. But when the hurricane blow down their wall, I'll be by your side and me nah budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, that light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall, and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start mal, but they see their city streets them flood. When the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me now budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people, maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chasmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to a special edition of Lion Talk Live, and we have a special guest. As we announced, I will be in St. Croix at the USVI Envision Cannabis Conference. Sister Aisha, our very own Empress Diana Collingwood was here. We will be there, the Lion Voice Network, and leading up to the conference, we want to reason with some of the panelists, and tonight we have one of the esteemed panelists, and he's also a historical figure within the global movement of Rastafari. This is a Rastafari brethren who has served as a senator, excuse me, has served as a senator. This is a Rastafari brethren who assumed the official title as the Ganja Czar of the Virgin Islands, of the US Virgin Islands. This is a Rastafari brethren who is running for governor. So this is his first time on the Lion Voice Network, but the item know how we do it here, from the lady that's selling the market to the judge and the politician. Once they're Rastafari, once they're Pan-African, they are on this platform. You know, this is the most diverse platform for Rastafari on the planet, without question. From artists to scientists, you know what I mean? We've had them on the platform, from engineers to, you know what I mean, visual artists. We've had them all here on the platform, and we're continuing to break ground in this tradition. This is our first brethren who is actively engaged in politics. So I want the item
to spread out this, share, let the ones them know, because this is some high level reasoning. This brethren is also responsible for the passage of the legislation that freed up the ganja and the VI. We're going to learn about what's happening with ganja and the VI, why this conference is so important. Because remember, what is happening now with the Rastafari movement is that we are creating the architecture that's going to serve the movement for the next 50 years moving forward. It's being created right now as the Armageddon unfolds. So to have these reasonings on these platforms is crucial. But before we bring forward the brethren, I have to big up the greatest online community on the planet Earth, the Lion Pride, the global Lion Pride. Let us know where you're watching from in the comment section. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. We just hit 68,000 subscribers here on YouTube. The TikTok account now is growing. I think we passed 1,500 on the TikTok. The IG is growing. Facebook is growing. Our WhatsApp group is also there. So we are expanding. I know the newsletter is late, but the newsletter is on the way. So if you have subscribed and we have your email, the newsletter is coming. But we're building a global ecosystem. Again, you see the mainstream media, it's pure propaganda. You see, when you look at entertainment media, it's not dealing with I&I issues. Yes, you may see a Ras on the entertainment, your favorite artist, but it's not dealing with the creed, and the things that we need to discuss. So we need our own platform, and Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media is here. We are rising. Big up Breadlocks, iYard Radio, Just Call I before the show. And next brethren who is leading out with Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media. And I see that he's doing a collaboration with our elder Jerry Small. So make sure you go and check out iYard Radio. Subscribe to them on YouTube. Big up Ija Stars over in the UK. Big up Rastafari TV, Sister Fanai. Big up Honorable Priest Isaac. Big up all of the ones them who have their YouTube or otherwise platforms as Rastafari. We are coming together in a oneness. So it's a great time to be alive. I never knew TV, my good brethren, just reason with him as well. So we are coming together. So if you are watching this channel live, you are a witness to a phenomenon unfolding. I just want the item to know that, and I want to express gratitude to each and every one of the item for being a part of this manifestation. I was called by His Majesty. The item know I practice law. I was called by His Majesty to jump into the media sphere because I was not seeing the level of reasoning that, that I used to look for as a young Ras going to university, seating up with the elders. I used to look for certain eye level and I scoured the internet and I'm not seeing that type of reasoning. So I said we have to step into this thing. I have teenagers at home. So I want to make sure that we're in these digital spaces, that they can see the authentic Rastafari, no watered down, from a Pan-African perspective. And I chose the Pan-African niche, even though Rastafari is now global. Rastafari is not just in Africa or with the African diaspora. You have white Rastafari, you have Japanese, you have, and we cannot be surprised because Haile Selassie is the Almighty. So he's the Almighty. Every nation is going to hail him. And we welcome all nations here on this platform. We have nothing but love. Some of our great Lion Pride and Patreon monthly subscribers, brethren of European descent. So it's a unity. At the same time, we are fulfilling our mission and our vision and our purpose. Big up Danisha, our latest addition, Lion Pride on Patreon here earlier. I have to continue to welcome you as one of our monthly subscribers. You say, greeting St. Croix in the house. So I'm positive. I know a lot of positive supporters are going to be coming in tonight and watching the replay. So if you're watching for the first time because of our guests, big up on yourself, welcome. This is your home. I want the item know. I told Positive that this is his home now. So I want the item know we have a space, you know what I mean, in the virtual, on the virtual webs. We have a space. And the item know we're watching the Middle East. Right now there's a ceasefire. America call a blockade. Which is an act of war. We're watching the whole thing. Remember, I told you don't get fooled by the ups and downs. This is going to be a long war, Armageddon war. We're in the book of Ezekiel 38, 39. Check out them too and tell me how you feel about it. So there's going to be a lot of changes. A lot of us are waiting for things to get back to normal. Normal is gone, family. We are at the crossroad of an age. We're at the ending of an age and the beginning of a new age. So get yourself in gear right now, because things are never going to go back to how they were, and rough times are ahead. And we're going to talk because our guest is someone who's on the front line in a different way, in the political boardrooms and all of these places where the legislations are being drafted. So we're going to talk to him about his journey to these hallowed halls. And, you know, as an attorney, I have some experience in some of these circles because, you know, you go to different functions, your law school colleagues invite you. And, you know, we were talking before, Brethren have him lying a Judah pin, and I always tried with a pin of His Majesty. And the thing that I always remark is the power that Haile Selassie I hold in these spaces where you think, you know, you'd be shying away because you are glorifying His Majesty. All the top people in the rooms want to talk to you, you know what I mean? And this is what you have to realize as Rastafari, is that we have a power. And worse, when you know some history and you drop some history, you have them like a baby, you know what I mean, in these spaces. So I want all of our young rasses to know the power. And when you see these brethren, know that anything that the Irites show the item to do, you can attain. So that's one of the messages I want our family to leave. I'm going to ask the brethren to share his contact information if ones want to contribute to his campaign, because it takes money. We're going to ask him to have that information. The item know my philosophy. We have 68,000 subscribers. If we can get 50,000 of the item to pay $10 to the guest, that guest wakes up in the morning with 500,000 US in their bank account. We have the power to do that. It's a decision that we have to make. And I know I may have to get to 1 million subscribers before I get 50,000 of the item to come off of that $10 and I tribute. But I want us to keep this in our mind that we have the power. We call it the one cocoa full basket philosophy, or the every mickle make a muckle, you know, institute. So when you take your liquor and you join it with other people's liquor, this is how our power will manifest. This is how collective security, because guess what? No one is coming to save us, family. I want the item say it with I. No one is coming to save us. If we think that in the midst of all this global chaos, someone is going to come and put Rastafari as a priority and address our concerns and our issues, you're naive like a baby. You know what I mean? You're like a toddler. So we are the ones that have to lift up ourselves. And the only way we're going to do that is coming together over land and sea. We may not have the numbers in a local area, but if we join across borders using the technology, now we become powerful beyond our greatest imagination. And it don't cost you more than a cup of coffee, you know what I mean, to exercise that power. So I'm going to keep on chanting this, family. I know that our regular viewers know, and I know some of you have started because guests have called me and said, give thanks, Ras, to get us strength. So I know some of the items have already started. And if you go to the videos, in the description, we try to have contact information. And if you cannot find the description, the contact information, send us a message and we make sure that we get you that information so that all of our guests, we want this to be a hub. So when you're watching, you see a word that you love, you send some economic strength, you know what I mean? Because that is how we are going to liberate ourselves, is putting capital in the hands of the workers. And in turn, we ask the workers to employ other people from our community, you know what I mean? And we can do that if we're working with hundreds of thousands of dollars as manifested by this community's potential. So I'm putting it out there, family. Put it in your heavens. Let us market ourselves. Let us budget ourselves. Let us prepare ourselves. But let us not have any illusion, but anyone but ourselves is coming to liberate us. All right, that being said, let me just big up Frontline Books. Let me just big up all of our sponsors. We have some new sponsors that are coming on stream, so we'll be talking to them. You'll be seeing some of their works shortly, new commercials, all of those things. So the ecosystem is growing, it's developing, and thanks to the IDEM, Rastafari will be respected. You know what I mean? When you are a sovereign people, you must have your own media, you know what I mean, that you own and control. So that's what we're doing. And trust me, it's not easy, but it's very beautiful. All right, housekeeping out of the way. You know I'm long-winded, so you know what you signed up for, family. You know some love chat. But now it's time for us to bring forward our guests. And I want to give a special thanks to Sister Aisha, Empress Diana Collingwood, for making the link. I've heard about this brethren from my good brethren Tufari, to Zadi, who, you know, has been on this show a few times. You know, we've had St. Croix ones, and all of them speak positively of this brethren. So I am so happy, and give a warm Lion Pride welcome. Send some emojis in the chat. Send some love for our special guest, Senator Positive Nelson.
Yes, respect.
Royal greetings.
Yes, my humblest appreciation for this opportunity to be here, brethren. I want to say from the onset, a big shout out, a big roar to the Lion's Voice, because just from, this is my first time tuning in also, you know, from what you represent, that you are on a space and a place for Rastafari to express and even become accessible to, you know, the Rastafari is mystified by many, and they don't always have access to what Rasta is and Rasta culture, Rasta community. So I thank you for having this venue, this space, and I look forward to future participation as well. So give thanks.
This is their new home, you know. So as I told you, anytime they have anything you want to reach the global family, most of our viewers will watch the replay. You know, the faithful are here live with us, but we have a big African community, and you know, it's way up in the hours. So you know, see a royal welcome there. Grassroots, a big up the Honorable Positive Nelson. Rar, even give you a rar for. And let me just warn you that we have the greatest comment section on the internet, the highest level intellects, you know, the elders, you know, our thing is different. So I just want to warn you. But before we get to the Envision Cannabis Conference and the remarks that you're going to give, we have a tradition here on the Lion Voice Network. We're going to ask the eye to step into our Lion Talk time machine and to take us to the moment of your birth and to give us the origin story of the great Positive Nelson. You know, where were you born? What was your journey like to Rastafari?
Okay, well, I give thanks. So I was born in 1967, September 27, 1967. My name was given to me was Terence A. Nelson. I was born in St. Kitts, Sadler's Village, St. Kitts, West Indies. My parents were residents of the Virgin Islands, but mother traveling back and forth. They're from St. Kitts. I was born there. I've lived all my life in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. My mother, after giving birth, I was back here by maybe about 2 months old. I was back here on island. And of course, you know, in the Caribbean, and you've probably been to this as well, as we start to look towards Rastafari, they see our hair start to get a little long. You know, the first thing they start to say is, don't think you're going to be no Rastaman in my house, because the system have trained their mind against this to break any resistance to the system, as we know Rastafari is. So, you start listening to Bob Marley music, they start to discourage you from this Rasta culture. But looking at Rastafari in the early 70s as a young man, seeing the unity, the love, the sharing, not just reggae music and no smoking herb, but just how they live together. Yes, one of the humbleness. Yeah, it was something obviously attractive to us as children. It gave us some kind of something to look forward to, something to say like, well, we can be a part of. But as far as our parents and the system, we were discouraged from that long hair, discouraged from locks, definitely, and they will quickly cut our hair when we started to have afros. So it was something that we turned away. But no matter how we were turned away from it, no matter how they put us in the regular churches, Christian churches, what seemed to attract you even to what you're hearing in church is Rasta culture. And as I grow bigger, and at the same time, I hear you say that when you were in college, when I was in college, I was coming home during the summers, and I would go to Ras Shalom in his store, Natural Mystic, and just reason, just wanting to know more. Start to watch videos and things, and internet now they have a lot of access to information. But back then we didn't have information like this. You go around people, you go around tabernacles, you go where you're allowed to go. But Rastafari has always, it's just for me. I grew up in a Christian church, and many of us have. And, it's actually a sect of Christianity if you really want to speak about it. But, Rasta for us as a black man gave me a home, where I can be my natural self. And, I have a college degree. I have an accounting degree. I have many leadership certificates, and, I have a strong background in leadership. I've been a teacher for 10 years, a union leader, formed a labor union here in the territory, ran for the Senate in 2004. The people elected me, been serving for 7 terms. That's 14 years. After that, I served as Commissioner of Agriculture for 5 years. And then I served most recently as the Special Advisor to the Governor on Cannabis, commonly called the Cannabis Czar.
Wow. But stick up in one moment, because I want to take our viewers back to your childhood. What was it like growing up in St. Croix in the 70s, early 70s? What was your first memory of seeing a Rastafari brethren or sister?
In St. Croix, growing up in the 70s, it was just like one love, and it was cool. At the time, we were living in Watergut. It was a project. It was one of the newer projects in the area. We had a problem of being outside. I'm the only boy. I have 3 sisters. And, being the newer project, the guys who are already established and had their groups would come to our neighborhood, and you'd either have to fight or flight. Check me. So, it was kind of tough in those situations, but it was interesting. We were close to the beach. Our hangout was in the downtown. There was a lot of opportunity to get into trouble because, instead of young boys, nothing to do, walking through downtown, you see certain opportunities, you might take advantage of those things, whether it's jumping in pools and people, a hotel pool and running and to other mischievous things. Yes. But growing up was lovely. It was a lovely community. Here in the Virgin Islands, we're 84 square miles. We're not as big as Jamaica at all. So it's a very small community, and it's a lot of people here from the other Caribbean islands because this is an American territory. So they come here, and the way, it's coming to America kind of thing, but you get to be in the Caribbean at the same time. So growing up as a young boy, to me, it was lovely. I sort of, it would be great for these children today to have a feeling like that. We didn't have all this technology, and I remember wishing you didn't have to wait home for a phone call and wishing you had a car. You didn't have to push or pull with a string and all those things. But now that we have them, it's like I'm really happy we didn't have some of those things when we were back then.
Yes.
I see where they cut us off from our social being. So, but it was lovely. It was beautiful. I can't complain. I can't complain about our childhood here, my childhood in the Virgin Islands in St. Croix. It's like I wouldn't trade it off. Even now with the challenges we have, with the problems we have, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade St. Croix for no other place. I love visiting places, but St. Croix is home for me, and that's why I believe it's worth fighting for.
Yes, and in terms of your first memory of Rastafari as a child?
Rastafari. So we are the water God. So the Rastaman used to, first of all, my eldest sister, she was getting in trouble because she used to, this Rasta guy used to try to talk to her. She was in high school or somewhere there about, and this Rasta guy used to try to talk to her. And of course, your parents wasn't having that. So I used to hear complaints in the house, and of course, hearing about Mali music and all these things and just hearing parents verbalize things. But the Rasta used to be around in the neighborhood. And for us, in the evening, that time, them guys used to go in the bush. And we used to try to follow them, and they used to chase us back because we were too young. But cool yourself, you want to chase us back. They didn't used to let us participate in the smoking herb in the bush that they used to, what we used to do? We used to smoke all kind of, they have a hollow vine, just go on a long fence and thing and all kind of thing just to try to deal with what they're dealing with. But then, we start, to be honest, I didn't know about Selassie and them things. They won't talk. They were just talking the one love and the, communion and the nature. And you see them dealing with I always have food.
Yes.
I always had to move a bag or something, and I always giving. It was like the more one love, that they express more love. But for us, our parents were trying to teach us to fear them. I remember even when at one summer we were visiting Sinkers and they call them, watch out for the black heart man. Then come take you and thing, and they were trying to refer to Rasta and such. So they try to run us from it. But to me, it's always been attractive. The reggae music, of course, the drumming, like you said, the Pan-Africanism that Rasta held during the time when it was uncommon. If you heard drumming, African drumming, it was Rasta man doing it. Any bingy drumming was people were afraid to hold on to that black culture.
Yes.
So to me, Rasta man helped us hold on to that black culture. Like I said, gave me a space, made me feel like, and they always seem to stand for righteousness. They stood for righteousness. When there's an argument going on even amongst my own family, we have some Rasta in the family, and one I call Moses, Joseph Eddie. He had to cut his locks in order to marry my aunt because my grandmother wasn't having it. But I saw him, and the day of his wedding, he told my grandmother, Miss Mills, I marry your daughter now. It done. And I go back Iraq, and I saw my own uncle being denied food because, like they're trying to pressure him into, cutting his locks. Uncle Bobby, and there were the two Rastas that were directly in my family who I knew at the time. A recent one, Nata, Kelvin, also from saying it. So I saw my family as a roots family, I used to say my father as such, but it was something that I heard him one time tell my mother he was washing his hair with aloes, and he said he tell my mother he was laxing up, and she went totally berserk, and he was only kidding, of course, but I saw that there was something totally against it when I was moving back home after living in North Carolina for 10 years, going to college and whatnot, and I was coming back home, and part of me leaving out North Carolina was also because I was ready at that time to start to walk the road all the way,
Okay.
I think at the time I didn't lax up yet. And then in 1995, I decided to come back, and I had to have that talk with my father because I was going to have to be by him for a while. And I knew how he felt. So I said, Daddy, I want you to know I want to come home away. Yeah, no problem. I said, I want you to know that I plan to lax up and be a Rasta man and be myself, And he told me something like this. He said, son, this is what I feel. I feel people who become Rastas is finding an excuse not to want anything out of life. So I thought about it before I responded. I love my father now, and he's actually having a sensible conversation about this thing. And I said, well, it's all about perspective, we grew up going to church and teach us to believe in God and to seek out. So I'm telling you all, I'm doing that. If you're saying not wanting anything out of life is not chasing after vanity, not caring about, the nice houses, fancy nice things like that, then I could see how you might look at that perspective in the wrong way. But if I tell you I'm trying to live righteous, trying to live good, and I already had my college degree at the time, so, and he just said, well, you could come, it's not a problem. I just wanted to know my feeling on it. So part of all the things that I do is to show them and to show the world, because even me, my name Positive, that was when we were coming into Rasta consciousness in North Carolina. We used to sit down, cool vibes, look at Bob Marley videos most of the time. That's our pastime, and me and some homeboys from the whole island. You know, so we started to, we decided we tried to just live good, live righteous, and all this kind of thing. And we want to come into a dread name or a Rasta name. And, everybody choosing their name, and I say, well, I want mine to be positive, and they're like, oh, that ain't a dread name. In a Rasta name, because they want it to be more Afrocentric, right?
Yeah.
I said, listen, that's something I can radiate. And Bob Marley said the Rastaman vibration is a positive vibration.
Yes.
So my Rasta name can be positive. This might deal with me and God. And so from then on, I said, well, I can prove that it is a positive vibe, no matter what they say about us, and we've proven it. It's redemption time for us, It's redemption time for the Rasta community, The only hardship we have right now is to clarify in the people's mind. That's why this platform is so important. Is to clarify in the people's mind between Rasta and Rascals.
Yes.
Because locks is a fad now, because we've cleared the way for that. Locks is a fad. So there's a lot of people with locks who don't really live righteous in their heart, and we ain't trying to say we're perfect, but it's redemption time. All the things Rasta used to talk about, the way we eat, the herb and its uses, and bush medicine in general. Rasta held on to that. So now that scientists are saying that, the doctors, the people with the degrees and the studies and the medical journals are saying it, and even the United Nations, look at what happened, and they fall short. The United Nations a few years back acknowledged reggae music as a music to be preserved, and they represent, resistance against oppression, and they speak to, against this kind of suppression of people, and the United Nations, but you recognize reggae music without recognizing Rasta. You follow me? But they don't want to do that because it's still, how could they pay homage to the resistance? You follow me? So what we've done is remarkable, and we just, it's time for us to really come together. The things you talk about is the things that they undermine Marcus Garvey about. He wasn't just talking, he bought ships, and he was getting 2 million people to send $1 every time. That, how much they do when they see that's what we don't do. We don't pool our resources. They keep us divided. But to me, Rasta,
and now they have a name for it. They call it crowdfunding. So Marcus got in trouble for that. But now you can, they have apps and different things. I wanna know. Yes, you grow your locks. You've listened to Bob Marley. When did your knowledge of Haile Selassie come, and how does the eye view His Majesty?
Okay, well, it came early because, again, as if you're watching Bob Marley videos, anything about Bob Marley gonna chant Haile Selassie. So for me, I started to look at it, and I'm a research person, so I'm gonna read. I would speak to Ras Shalom, and we'll get on in it. And I see Haile Selassie is coming too, especially since it was already forecasted, okay, that this king will rise, and it gave us, Black community, okay, a space in all of this biblical things. It gave us a space where they say, hey, hold up, when we trace, okay, normally when you tell Black folks to go back to their history, where we trace it to? Slavery.
Yes.
Right? And we stop there. Like if we weren't in existence prior to. But when you look deeper, you realize, okay, there was a deeper existence. Of course, you go back all the way to Kemet and come forward. And when they talk about these biblical people, and they're talking about Sheba and these kings and queens that get together and things happen and bringing together Israel and Judah and these different tribes, and you realize that there's a king who's born in Ethiopia that the Bible spoke about, then whether you want to argue that he's a prophet, a king, or God in a kingly character, his existence has significance. His crowning and how the world paid homage to him had significance and have significance. So why not me as a Black man in this world? If I could believe in a blonde-haired Jesus Christ, why can't I don't have to believe in Selassie. Selassie, I live in our time. You follow me? In our years, if you really look at it. So ain't no ghostly story. So for me, I look at Selassie as, it's because I look at any individual. We all have God within us, and the Spirit used us, and the Spirit was definitely emanating from His Majesty's presence, His very presence, and of course the words he uttered. And that's when we think about leadership and trying to be humble. That's what I think about, like being able to carry yourself at such a standard and live the examples that you want people to follow. We are going to fall short. Even the Bible tells us so. So I see him as such king. I see him as a representative of where God used human beings. Because in the first time that those things, if you want to go back all the way to Osiris and them kind of Asan, Osiris and those folks, is God is in man. Back in the day, they would tell us that was blasphemous. But an individual is an existence of spirit and flesh. And when you can be a channel of such, which I see His Majesty as such, that you speak things to ears that will soften hearts of adversaries and bring people together and have people to leave some of the ways and follow this. For me, a consciousness that makes me feel like I have a place as a black man. No.
Yes, and as someone who has chosen politics, how closely have you studied His Majesty's work as a statesman? Because I would imagine that it's very interesting to the eye from that perspective.
Right. So I actually had to use, because when I first ran, of course, getting chant, don't ball it, Rasta, don't deal with politics. And I had to reason with some brethren and tell him, listen, His Majesty was a king of Ethiopia. That's political if you want to call it that. But I don't see what I'm doing as politics. Like, for me, it's like, why leave decision making up to folks who don't have our interests even in their no place in this sphere of mind? Okay, so I believe it's very important that we be at the table, that we be in the room, so that we bring a level of consciousness. And when I say a level of consciousness, just being conscious is not enough. Being conscious is just being aware that you have a nose, a mouth, and you exist. But it's to raise that level of consciousness. So to understand about that, for me, what was significant is when that jeering that he withstood during his speech, when he made that speech in front of the United Nations, when they wouldn't allow him to speak, and instead of, he just stood there and wait for them to finish, and then say what he had to say with the greatest humility, and that stuck. They put in words, put in songs. Those things I try to hold on to that when I'm going to the pressure of dealing with these politics, because it's not easy. You get scorned and slandered as one of them, and all of it good for nothing, and you're trying to hold on to yourself and to let them know, hey man, listen, I'm in here. But it's hard when the whole political scheme is filled with corrupted hearts. So but what has been, I think, my stronghold is exactly that. Because of my Rasta, because of me being Rasta, my Rasta faith, my Rasta way, my way of life, that the electorate trusts me a little more. I really strongly feel that that's what's been my winning, that at least he honest, at least we could trust him. Even though the system fighting against, because they don't want Rasta to come in and be successful.
Yes.
A lady came down here, and she Deborah Friday, she follows and document Rasta growth, like what levels in society Rasta have risen to in the various islands throughout the States or wherever. And I guess she heard of me and she came down here, and I don't talk about this publicly. This is probably the first time they're gonna hear about this publicly as much.
Okay.
She does work for the Smithsonian, and she came down here with a friend in hopes that she would run into this Rasta senator. And she called me when she got to St. Thomas. I flew over there and met with her, and she was just totally freaking out and had her camera rolling and she kept telling me, like, you don't understand, it was kind of funny, because I'm humbled by the people trusting me enough to put me in the mix. But She said, you're the first Rasta center, and she was documenting information from me and taking pictures and videoing me dealing with the public to put in the Smithsonian. And I don't know if it's there because there was a Rasta exhibit in the Smithsonian.
Yes,
was going to put me in as part of it, and I don't know if it ultimately unfolded. I got some information back and forth, but she really, and I knew it. I'm the first Rasta senator here, in the Virgin Islands and any place in the U.S. And it's, you talk about access. When we go in these meetings, especially in the States, that they come in to talk to me. I don't know, because they think I know I'm going to talk about reggae music. A lot of time I'm asking if I'm a member of the band, etc., etc. But but so it is true. It's not expected for us to be in these positions, have our doctorate degrees and all these kind of things. So she was just totally taken aback, and gave, she even interviewed Tafari Tazadi, and we actually went by her place in Georgia and to do an interview of him. Because he's like a big priest here, and he's really fun. Does work to bring us together. So yeah, for me that was, I knew, but I was really honored, and it gave me even more of a sense of purpose that when I represent, I got to represent at a higher level. Like Sister Aisha always say, His Majesty always seeks excellence in what he does. So when we do things, we should come as that. We shouldn't come in up, and we got to start to be timely about things. We got to start to be, there's things that we have to we've been relaxed on, that if we really following His Majesty, that we got to fix that script a little bit. That's the community. To be honest with ourselves, because, if we talk about excellence, I like His Majesty moved, and we got to pull up our socks, pull up our boots. And it does mean being educated. It does mean that we say we want to deal with Babylon system, but, within this, we have to work out ours within this. And we've seen where we relying on the same Babylon that we burning fire on. You follow me? So to be as self-reliant as possible. And here, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not afraid to say this, even though it's going to bring worry. They already know it, but we as a people here, especially us here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we're sleeping on it. We're like Moses in Pharaoh's house.
Okay.
You understand me? We're U.S. territory. So the liberties, the civil, see that thing that they were doing in Jamaica is only recently they start to allow Rasta children to go to public schools and all these kind of crazy things.
Yes.
The American laws prevent that. You check it? And so as Rastas, we get a freedom to express and exhibit ourselves without the hardship, like the what they call it, the dread act up in
Dominica.
Almost even like in Jamaica where they had this and what is square name that they shoot down. So they can't just do that to us. Well, these days you have to wonder. You follow me? But the civil liberties that follow this flag allow us certain freedoms, and we need to build on it soon because them windows closing, And so
we were talking offline about the importance of St. Croix. And
I don't like to leave out the rest of the Virgin Islands, guys.
Yes, please.
But the Virgin Islands, but we had St. Croix.
St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, the whole VI, Totola, all of them.
Even the BVI, it's time to link up in a stronger way.
Yes. So I want to get forward to your story, though. So you returned. Well, first of all, what was life like in America for a young brethren coming from St. Croix? Was there a culture shock? What was the university time like?
Of course it is. I went there at 17. I left at 27. Most of us after high school, we go to America, whether we trade school, college, army, or just getting away from home for a bit. So going to America, of course, was different. I mean, we always thought, because when families or different people that grew up in the States came home back then, we always thought that they were different. And we different, and I don't say this with any malice, but we different. Growing up in the islands where you have a black majority, black leaders, black teachers, black preachers, black governors, black senators, is different. And we have a different attitude about trying to be progressive when we have those spaces where we have opportunity. And so going to America, for me, even going to college, you realize that our attitude towards our grades in school, our attitude towards how we dress on the college campus was a little different than the Americans. We were making more of an effort to play that role, to fall in line with that act that's expected of us. We even though we didn't have much clothes and much jackets like these that Yankee dude used to have, we used to put it together and hold our ground. And of course, we had to fight our way because I went to a black school. Most black folks don't know anything about the Caribbean islands. When you say islands, where the first thing that they ask is, "Oh, do you mean Jamaica?"
What school did you go to?
I went to St. Augustine's College in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, that's a HBCU.
That's a HBCU. Yes.
Okay.
One of the early ones founded, and my first son, I wanted him to go to a HBCU, and we argued, my wife and I, about the she don't want to go there. This limit, and he went to NC State, and he had culture shock when he heard them say that they had different freshman orientation. They had a different one for the blacks at the university, and what they were talking about there were things like about, you have a right to be here, and he was wondering, he called me like, "Daddy, why are they talking like this? What are they talking about?" He couldn't understand why they have to try to need to motivate us about being black,
Yeah.
And I only after that hit me square, so I knew they were different. But this lady with a doctorate degree told me one time after I finished college, I was working for the state. She said, "You don't understand how good you have it growing up in a black nurtured place where you didn't have this constant, suppression of feeling inferior." And then I realized that my friends were asking me my coworkers were asking me, "How could you do that?" And I'm like, "Do what?" And they were talking about when I'm talking to white folks, looking at them in the eye. And I'm like, "Well, how you mean?" And then I started paying attention and realized that most black Americans, when they're talking to white folks, they're looking down.
Wow.
And that's out of habit. That's out of trained habit. Don't look up at me. You follow me? In the islands, it's different. I'm probably not just the Virgin Islands, any Caribbean island. Even though a lot of our work was around tourism and what's not, we don't, you're gonna respect us still. We serving you, yes, but you ain't gonna treat us like no piece of crap, or you ain't gonna get your food. We ain't gonna bring it, period. We'll cuss out the manager and we'll go home hungry. Follow me?
Yes.
That's one thing about the Virgin. St. Croix in particular is very different than the rest of the Virgin Islands when it comes to that.
Yes.
And we are those places that a lot of hardship happened here during slavery, and we fought for freedom. It wasn't just given to us. It was a lot of rebellion, a lot of revolts, and we kind of sort of pull a whole plan that made the then Governor General even get in trouble with the Queen at Denmark, because when he made that declaration and that emancipation did July 3rd, 1848, it was without the authority of the Queen, but he was suckered into a plan that the enslaved at the time cornered him into, and so that resilience and that resistance still exists within the land and the people.
Yes, and you see a lot of Rastafari influence in St. Croix. That was one thing. My first visit, I noticed how many, all these people with locks and beard, and you see
outside of Jamaica.
Yes. And of course, we have the great Van Benjamin and Midnight and the impact that they had. So when did you talk to us about your return to St. Croix and your journey into politics? What was the decision that made you say, "I want to be a senator of all things"?
Well, I don't I don't like politics, and I didn't want to be that wasn't an ambition of mine. I came home in '95. I took a teaching job. It was a transition. They were looking for teachers at the time at a new school, and I have an accounting degree, so I took a teaching job teaching accounting at the St. Croix Educational Complex. Now they call it the St. Croix. I think they call it. The name changed or something. It was the St. Croix Educational Complex. Then it was the St. Croix Vocational School, and in teaching, in the highest pay, But we went about 12 weeks. They won't paying us for about 12 weeks. And they had made me, a lady had to tell them, oh, Mr. Nelson like to talk, make him the union rep, the shop steward. I didn't even know what that was, but that's the union man at the store, at the school rep. So I had to go to the union office for these meetings about the problems we having at the schools, etc. And there was a bunch of new teachers because it was a new school. A lot of us had recently moved home from the States. Most of us were in our 20s. They had some senior teachers veteran teachers who had years on us. And they had a lot of us who were young. And I took the teaching job, of course. And it being in front of those children, it gave me such a sense of purpose. Like I tell you, I decided I want to be a do good. I want to be positive, and I figured God help me to help young people, in particular during those turbulent years where they're making bad decisions. And having the opportunity in the classroom was ideal. I mean, I was teacher of the year, student's choice for every year that I taught, and it wasn't because I was an easy teacher, but it gave me a space. But we had to fight as teachers, professionals. There weren't no books in the new school. We weren't getting paid. We didn't have no supplies. We can't even go and make copies from books from where that we borrow. And they just expect us to teach. So of course, Mr. Big Mo started. You like to talk, I like to talk too. I started speaking up, started running these things, and while we eventually shut down the school after about 12 weeks, and that was a Friday, and they paid us the next week. Well, so I started to pay closer attention to the budget of education. And if they could just pay us like this, why didn't they pay us? And they made out an excuse about certain processes, et cetera, et cetera. So I started to pay attention and teaching and watching the budget that education have, and realizing that the budget is not reaching down to the classroom. Okay, and that still is the problem in a lot of instances where the budget ain't reaching the front line.
Yes.
I have a lot of layers of administrative and all kind of things, but where you need the people and the supplies on the front line, that's where the shortage come up, because you're doing everything else, right? And so teaching, I taught for 10 years, like I told you, and just doing your thing. Just glad to be able to have the student in the school. For me, the students were already hoarded, so I had a great chance to influence them positively. And parents were coming to school to figure out who is this Mr. Nelson. I was changing students' lives, not just from teaching them accounting and business, but from being their best selves. When I saw Roots for the first time in early 70s, it made me know I had to be a good black man. When I realized there's black king emperors, I had to be a good black man. And that's when I teach children, I teach them that, and even beyond black, as a good human. And we just kept fighting the challenges. I created a union during that time, and people started to come to me about things that had nothing to do with my, I had no jurisdiction over the things they were coming to me for. Just saw you as a stand-up person, saw that you're willing to stand up and go to meetings and stand up to the governor and tell him, the governor of the Virgin Islands actually told me, sit down and shut up in a meeting. He was embarrassing everybody else. And I told him, you can't just talk to people like that. You're our representative. We're looking for you for help. And he tell me, you just need to sit down and shut up. You can't tell me what to do. And he inspired me right then. Like, okay, you're right. He tell me, do what you want to, but you can't tell me what to do. I'm governor of these here Virgin Islands. Yeah, and that was in 1995. Understand me? When I had just returned home, and we were there to, so all of that speaking up and speaking out and going in meetings where they're closing doors in your face, and you're trying to adjust things for people where you have no authority. I said, well, listen, it was a burden, because you really want to help people, but in these islands, it is small town, you have no authority. Matter of fact, they try to discredit your name. In 1996, I had started to locks up then. April 1st, 1996, April Fool's Day, right? I break up the coma and said, that's it. And so, look at this nappy head guy and blah, 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 where you think he going, So as far as they try to discredit me as just some, so probably some dope smoking, reggae dancing. You follow me? So I had to really stick to the facts. And it's hard, because what they want to do is push your emotional buttons. You want to roar and go on like the lion that you are. But they know that's exactly what they need you to do for the people to, be scared. Because if even though a lion is humble and ain't hungry, and rabbits are wrong. There's still a little, you know, thing is that you don't move too fast and you
Yes, yes.
flash. You get it? So they try to always, and that's what my whole time during the political scene in the Senate, that's what they were doing, pushing the buttons. And it's up to me to remember His Imperial Majesty to be humble, no positive. This is exactly what they want you to do, to act up. And I don't have to act up right now. I have to act out. I have to play the role and get across my point, not to them only, but to the public who's listening, because they were tuned off. So, a lot of those things came from that, all the Rasta community. But I don't know if I strayed from the question. I probably did. I don't know if I answered
No, we love it because we're reasoning. We are reasoning. What was the first Senate race? Take us forward to the first Senate race.
2004.
And what that was like.
So, it was getting frustrating for me being in the school because they were harassing. Every year I worked, because I was the voice, I was being harassed. Okay, and I don't go around publicly saying this, but there you could ask my students. The principals of the school was harassing me, literally. Why? Because they feel like when the students shut down the school because they didn't have any books, 'cause I was behind it, and I was. And I had students who were I was head of the Student Government Association at the school, and then they came to me upset about not getting books. I told them, listen, if you're going to do something, it has to be organized. I just told them, you have the right to, but if you're going to do it, don't have them making no stupidness and go, and all those things. And so they were harassing me literally for all those years. And, it's hard, you have people who supposed to be working with you seem to be undermining. And I said, I something happened in June of that year. I didn't join the military. I ain't be a police because I don't like people shoot guns at me. I ain't went down the gangsterism road because, I don't want to have to shoot somebody or somebody shoot me. I decided I want to be a do-gooder, But in June of that year, a student pointed a gun at me, not because I was in the conflict, but we parted a fight. Some guys had jumped a guy who was there from another school, and it was after school, and I was leaving in my car, in my van, and the fight broke out right in front of me. I was actually blowing the horn like, hey, what are you doing in the road? You could stop stealing, talking junk, But the guy paid me no attention at all. He was focused on whatever he was looking at. And when I traced his steer wherever he was going, realized it was a group of guys there. But at the time, they had started fanning out, and they eventually jumped on him, blah, blah, blah. I jumped on my right. The guy we call Faker Man jumped up there. Hey, come fight. So teachers, we part in the fight. And the guy who was on the ground getting whooped got up and pushed a sawed-off shotgun through a bag. But he was pointing at me. I don't know if he wasn't aware, in his frenzy or whatever. But, and I'm a martial artist. I practice martial arts for now some 36 years. Going on 36 years. So part of the thing is a voice, if turn to your narrow side and, keep moving. But the guy kept doing this with the gun. And he actually, this other guy who was one of the guys beating him, started charging back. I don't know if he was charging back because he thought Mr. Nelson was in trouble or that's his chance to jump on the guy. But, I was saying gun, gun, gun the whole time. And when the guy was charging at him and he got close, he turned the guy on him. He turned the gun on the guy and he shot him.
Wow.
And he died. He shot him right there. And before he fell, he kind of, he was looking at me like, do something or like, there's a sense of guilt because I almost feel like he was coming back to save me.
Yes.
Follow me? So we actually planted a mango tree in his honor, Jamali Henry, and so he died there in front. And that was the first time I had that happen. And I said to myself, this God giving me a sign that I got to get the heck out of this. You know what I mean? I love teaching, but with the fight down that they were doing, it made me being a positive influence hard. And, since if I was where I was in my mind now, I might have handled it better. But at the time, I say it's time to go. It's time to do something else.
Yes.
I say, let me say these folks want me to be a senator. They were asking me about all these things. I did the paperwork, went through, and started running the campaign, and there were many doubters. They laughed, you know, they want to elect a Rasta man. You know, they laughed. I mean, I won't tell you some of the degrading things they've said, and you know, things that you have to hear because you're in this. Well, you know, even when people introduce you as Senator Nelson and you walking with staff and these things, they reach in to shake the staff hand, and the staff have to take their hand to put it in your hand because this has happened. I'm telling you, here and off island, you know. But you know, that happened. We ran. We came out third in that first race.
Yes.
Shocked the entire Virgin Islands. And since
So what did you have to go door to door? What was that?
that's
Campaign?
you know, grassroots campaigning. You know, they're not gonna give us the big money. So you know, I mean, I were putting on my own sign, and you know, guess what? My first campaign signing right now, it's in the Library of Congress. But they thought it was so unique. I know it wasn't that it was so unique. I know it was because it was the first Rasta man. But I had a Peter Tash wanted. You know, you wanted, right? By Peter Tash. Yes, I had the wanted put, and it said wanted on top of it. And on the bottom, I said for the Senate. You know, so people were looking at this supposedly wanted posters that were up and down the place that I was putting on myself. You know, and going door to door and just reasoning with the people. I had to reason with my Rasta brethren. You know, I had to reason with the church people. I had to reason with the door to door people. And you know, politics funny because there's a habit that they expect to be given something. Even now, you know, expect t-shirts, expect pencils, rulers, something that you giving it. Like, you are my vote, you gotta give me something. They even have a guy now campaigning for governor talking about he's gonna give the voters $25,000. That's so absurd. I'm surprised that the election office even went and, you know, put a halt to that right now, self. But so it was, you know, it was hard because we had to put in the work. But that's what you call sweat equity. When you know, I think a lot of time people with the money they miss it. You know, you could go out and you could go on the radio and get a lot of ads, and you could go on the TV and you could take out ads in the newspapers. But with politics, is about what is said, pressing the flesh, one at a time, one to one. And what was good for me was the work that I was already doing in the community, running nonprofits, doing youth organization, having school after school program, after school tutorials, after school martial arts class, doing summer camps, and these things I'm still doing, as a matter of fact. So I'm not doing it for political reasons. Like I tell you, I made a deal with God, brethren. I made a deal with God. You know, I started going to the church and all them kind of thing and stuff. But you know, I grew up going to church here, and even then in North Carolina. But at about age 25, when my first son was coming, I made I read that the children suffer the sins of their parents. And I was like, I had done a lot of interesting things by then, you know. And I'm like, I got to clean up my act. My first son was coming in 1990. I didn't want, and I have 4 now, 3 boys and a girl. The princess, she little from everybody grown, you know. But, you know, I didn't want things befall them that was because what I did. And that's why it's important people understand about living righteous. So, you know, my deal then was to help guide young people and to just be a good in the community. So be doing what I was doing at home and doing the work that I do is really to please God. God say you serve me by serving people. You praise me by doing good. You know, so, you know, don't quote me Selassie speeches only. It's how you live in. Don't quote me Bible verses. It's how you live in. You know, don't quote me none from I don't care what biblical document you're using. Is the liberty. And that's why for me it's easy to live Rasta liberty, because, you know, I think, and even though we have our own, I believe, you know, dogma that's included in this thing to try to just restrain freedom of humans, you know, it's more natural and more fitting. And I look at Rasta not just as a religion, but a way of life, being in harmony with nature. Yes. And yeah, I heard you say something earlier that I made a note to say something about, is that, you know, when you say Rasta, you have all kind of different ethnicity. And it's important to understand that when we talk about one love, it goes beyond blackness. It talks about understanding that we're siblings in creation, not just to humanity, But to the rat, the cat, the insects, the mosquitoes that we don't like, the roaches itself, the trees, the earth itself, you know that we are part of nature. We are the pinnacle of nature because we are the only of God's nature that has the freedom of choice. And why? Because God wouldn't restrain himself, and even to reference God as a him. It's Western culture. You follow me? So for me, Rasta is that one love, embracing existence, understanding that everything we see in everybody is in us. But as we raise our consciousness, we try to, let's say, live better, improve how we live in. And that's what Rasta Liberty is about for me, that we have to set that things we have to do with that sense of pride, not that vain, arrogant pride, but in putting our best effort forward. That's what righteousness is about. And and in helping people to grow. You know, Sister Aisha, we worked together as she was assistant commissioner, I was commissioner of agriculture. And one thing we said was, you know, we don't just grow food, we grow people. And even as you talk about agriculture and food, we have to understand that there's something that prevents us from really pursuing agriculture, not just in the Virgin Islands, but throughout the Caribbean. I want me to tell you what, and there's Caribbean islands who have gotten past it. I want me to tell you what I call it post-traumatic slavery syndrome.
Yes.
Where we was whooped to grow food. And so we looking at, as soon as we making a little money, we say, I ain't going to food, that too much work. I ain't going to buy food, third-rate, old food with all kind of things in it. Okay? As based on what's going on in the world today, is even more reason why we should do the best we can to supply, to have food grown as close to home as possible. And use whatever network we can, especially us here now in Pharaoh's house. Use all the trade agreements that America has with various countries to open that channel up for us here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay, and use ancestral rights to have market exchange with with Africa. You follow me? It's like Abraham Toure has reached out to us, and we like afraid to reach back out because we are afraid of being castigated, cut off by America. I asked a Jamaican representative when they were down here from the CTO. They was finally talking about medical marijuana, and I asked him, so why? How come Jamaica being the lead, you know, Rasta in the Virgin, in the Caribbean, and you know, ganja was king, you know, dollar for dollar at the time, ganja was king. How come Jamaica didn't move forward and just lead this thing out first of all? And he chuckled and he said, "Oh, because we didn't want to offend our North American market, which is our biggest market. Okay, they didn't want to offend America by for legalization." And then he followed up and said, "But I guess since they got it legal now, we're gonna pursue it." So we wait for validation, we wait for acceptance, and I believe there's so many things we have, even as it relates to, like, see CARICOM, OECS, and all these kind of things.
Yes.
You spoke about the diaspora. We have to understand, and the Virgin Islands is key, especially because of our status, our American status, in having a collaboration between this region. We don't want a big island thing and who got to be in charge because this is the biggest island. It has nothing to do with the size of the island. Okay, it has to be with us coming together and using our resources amongst ourselves and negotiating as a block. So that exploited by the tourism. We talk about the CTO, and they weren't ready for me, and they still ain't ready for this conversation because we're afraid to offend them. Like the Caribbean tourism organizations, we need to band together so that we're not. Here what used to happen: the cruise ships used to pay money to help us develop our ports so that they have someplace good to pull up to. But because we competing as Caribbean islands, we using our tax revenues and our income so resources to build it ourselves to attract the cruise ships to us, right? But they investing less and less in us. And then here what they doing with the money they're saving. They building bigger cruise ships that have all the things that you have on shore. They have it on the cruise ships now with the money they save. You follow me?
Yes.
No. So when they come to your islands, a lot of the people, they ain't go to the beach and then do something, but they ain't even spending as much because the kind of stores that you have, they have on the ship duty free.
The ship, yes.
Follow me? So we being undermined. And the only way we can counteract that is to go forward as a block. But they continue to keep us destabilized and at each other's throat so that they can have their way with us. And I'm telling you, Caribbean people, and the type of Rasta to lead the way, just like how Rasta has held the commonality of this Pan-African movement that they know all kind of folks jump up and sometimes don't even want to give Rasta space at the table to talk. You know? So we still have scars, we still have bleeding scars from this fight. And Rastazari and I, we've been traveled places together and done some interesting things, and we have some leverage that we need to capitalize on. You know, it's time to have our big Rasta conferences and Rasta gatherings beyond the, we can celebrate during those things with music and urban stuff, but we gotta be having a serious conversation about building these bridges, not just between the Caribbean islands, which is the Western diaspora, but with linking and interlinking this diaspora with Africa. Africa has been reaching out for a long time. And now that there are nations in Africa that really reaching out and really, opening a way and a channel, and we ain't going to be exploited, not to exploit. But to see how we can build this bridge and help us economically and help us as it relates to just sustaining ourselves and not falling back into that trap we once did. You follow me? Because for economic reasons, we see people do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. You follow me? And I feel strongly that Rasta consciousness, like the people don't know what to believe in right now. People don't know who to trust. It's like the world is in chaos. The world is out of order. And what has been constant throughout the years, and that's why we who consider ourselves Rasta in the true sense, righteous apostles, savoring the teachings of His Almighty, that we can get ourselves together and create platforms as this Lion Voice to really, like right now, and even my theme for politics is Lion Rising and saying Croix. It's the type of Lion Rising, it even goes beyond Rasta, but it's a time where truth is going to prevail again, with justice and, righteous actions going to come back to the front. People don't know what to believe in, and there's so many people going along just to get along, going along just to get some of the perks and get to live like the Joneses, but can't live with themselves when they get alone. You follow me? Because and they don't know who to, which way to go. And I think we've been sturdy along the way.
Serious. Take us into your first victory. What was that? What was different about the first campaign? Because you said the first time you ran, you came third.
Yes.
What was the first time that you actually?
No. Third is a win,
Oh, third is a win.
Yeah. We never lost.
Okay.
So you have 7 seats in this district. In each district, you have 7 seats. Okay, it's 15 senators in the Virgin Islands. 7 elected in St. Croix, which is one political district, and 7 elected in the St. Thomas, St. John. Together, they make up one, not the next political district. Okay, there's one has to be an at-large senator, but it's not a true at-large because that one still has to be a resident of St. John to give St. John a quote-unquote representative. That's not right and should be fixed, but we're not going to discuss that right now. So being third is a win. We won on the first go-round. And when we got in there, I mean, I had senators say, and I really, again, I just had to be humble and, bite my tongue, put tongue in cheek. They say, where another senator look at me in the legislature during, we were about to have a session and the cameras were off, and he made a comment, look at the type of people they're letting in the legislature these days. And it took a lot of strength not to respond the way I wanted to. And what I showed him is that I was a better statesman than he was. He actually got caught up in all kind of corruption things. He moved back to Dominica now, and he's back there being some kind of higher up in the Indian community. I was giving him my respect as that because he had Indian traits, and you could see the Caribbean in him, right? But this is a guy who just tighty feel like
Yes.
And he looked at me with scorn, and I just let him. It was hard, but I didn't, dissolve into what he wanted me to be. Act like, let out the beast side of me. I had to show I had control, and this is what's key. We need to understand, and even in His Majesty's examples, is that being in control of our mind at the time. One thing when you read a book, but at the time that the pressure is on, when the pressure drop, having that control of self at that time is what's very important in leadership. Not just in leadership with a title, but in leadership of ourselves as individuals. So when he tell me that I wanted to respond in many ways, and there was times that I was not really diplomatic on the Senate floor as well. But yeah, he said those things to me, and that was, and so I felt like the whole time, you have to show these people who you are, and it was the public clearly was seeing it, and it, they have their hands full with me because they had a real representative, because I'm schooled, I'm a member of numerous organizations, and right away I started to go into, because there are opportunities when you get in the Senate to go to leadership development workshops and school, but whether it's at Harvard, whether it's at Notre Dame, or one of these organizations like the Henry Toll Fellow or the Eastern Leadership Academy. I went to all these things and got my little certificate, but I learned a lot about me. Most of those things teach you a lot about yourself and managing yourself and how you apply decision making without bias. You follow me? Without your emotion attached to it, and getting the best results, especially in government. And it's hard because we all don't want the same thing. We don't have the same priorities at times.
Yes.
The first year was a good win. People got more trust. The second year, and by the third year, we was running number one, with the record numbers for 2 consecutive years. They trust the Rasta was the theme, and my catchline was, honest and efficient leadership in government. And we lasted 14 years. I didn't get voted out. I actually opted at the time to seek higher office at that time also. 2018, and it didn't work out. We had some petition signatures disqualified because I was actually about to throw in the towel because I didn't find a running mate till last minute. And I'm going to tell you, I'm the renegade, I'm the rogue. I know it's not the easiest thing to, when David went up against Goliath, it was David alone went. It wasn't all the favored, valiant, armored of the tribe of Israel at the time. No, it was David. So I understand that the road I travel, that it's a narrow path and not traveled by many, but I'm trusting, and we've been talking, and there's somebody who I really look forward to coming on board, because you need a running mate in order to qualify to run. And that's where we're at right now. Again, the time is going to start near soon. The petition paper is going to come out soon. But again, we have somebody that is real close. Many people don't want to get involved because of the stain.
Yes.
Stain that comes along with, your parents always tell you, watch out who you hang with, and you hear you jumping trying to do good, and it's worse than if I was some street gang, because you get scorned by the very society you're trying to help. You follow me? It's hard, but so you get
a lot of people don't want that scrutiny, that public scrutiny on their private life, and
at all.
Yeah. What were some of your major achievements as a senator?
Okay, so for me, I being an accountant, watching where we needed to have better control over the money, was that where so we put in place several things that took away some of the politics out of it. It started from the very early ones with what they call equal, and I won't be able to remember many of them. Okay, but that stuck out, like the equal allotment. Okay, they had a program where when the senators get in, this is specific to the legislature, if you're not a part of the majority, they determine what kind of budget they were going to give you to operate your office. And how they used to try to get members to come on board and to sucker in just to give them the numbers was threatened to give you just enough to pay your salary, and you wouldn't have enough to get the appropriate staff, etc., which I thought was nonsense. All of us are senators. How, because I don't want to be a part of your group, you're going to be able to determine that I won't get the money to run my office good because I don't want to succumb to whatever your wishes are. So I put in place something called the Equal Allotment Bill that allows each senator to get the same amount of money to run their office, except for the Senate president, who have bigger responsibilities throughout the three islands. So their budget was a little bigger. That was something that stuck out. The Agricultural Act was something that stuck out as well, because we really infuse to try to move agriculture forward and put agriculture in the classrooms. It gave some extra money to the Department of Agriculture. That was one that stuck out. Uh, there was others regarding work related, having a break throughout the day, having during a work day. Unless you were in a union, many of this, particularly in the private sector, because government is unionized, where employers don't want to give you a 15-minute break. Done they just want you take your lunch, unpaid lunch. So it mandated that if you work in an 8-hour day, that you get at least a 15-minute break sometime during the morning and a 15-minute break sometime during the afternoon. And that was outside, and that was a paid break, and that was outside of your lunch period, which the employer discretion could have been paid or unpaid. With the lunch period, at 30 minutes or 1 hour, which that was big because sometimes you're working in a place, you're on your foot the whole time, and your employer don't want you to sit down or. So I thought that stuck out, especially for working people. There were other things that I can't remember, but another one that I've been noted for, and perhaps one of the reasons why we're here, is that we got cannabis, marijuana,
Yes.
decriminalized. Well, we got industrial hemp passed, okay, and we got the Medicinal Cannabis Patient Care Act, medicinal marijuana passed, and that's where, at that time, is where I exited the legislature to pursue office. And when that didn't work out, I didn't bother to try to regain a seat in the Senate. Then I went to agriculture. I was nominated and appointed to be the agriculture commissioner by this current administration.
Okay. So, very interesting, because this weekend, Sister Aisha is gathering some of the greatest minds in the cannabis industry. And in part to answer the question, who is going to run the ganja business in the future? Because as Rastafari, yes, it's our sacrament. Yes, it's the whole of herb, but there's also an economic aspect to this plant, and we know that in America, in the legal states, this is a multi-billion-dollar business now. So much enterprise is happening, and Rastafari has, just kind of been cast aside, even though we took a lot of beatings. Our elders, even no matter what race, class, or creed, when they think about ganja, we are there somewhere, in the top of people's minds, So we have a credibility within the industry that we have not tapped yet. What was the process in terms of the passage of the act, and why did you take up this task in terms of the cannabis or the ganja plant?
Okay, so of course you hear, Rasta in politics, which was unusual, and I was starting to get tired. It wasn't until about my maybe third or fourth term, because people had asked me before. This elder, one of my advisors, had asked me about it, and I thought he was just scheming to see if if I had a smoke, or if where I am on the issue, because he had asked me about why we don't legalize it, and somebody said how good it is. But I didn't want to fit the stereotype, oh, Rasta and all the time about ganja. So initially I didn't pursue any of that. But after about it was in my fourth term, I was like, I can't be here with an opportunity to bring Rasta to not just Rasta, but something on behalf of Rasta to the table, like legalization, because, if legalize it, I mean, we see Bob Marley and Peter Tosh in particular, get beat down for this thing. You understand me? So here I am, a Rasta man in politics, with a chance to bring the ganja conversation up. And I was like, well, positive, do it. And something, it was strange, because I was running from it, right? And this guy, a white guy, I was at a beach, just taking a dip, and this guy come walking on the beach. I had a old Land Cruiser. He had and apparently he was interested in purchasing it. And He went on the beach asking people who it was, and a brethren that was with me and overheard him asking about it. Point me out that, and he came, we were talking, and they cooled out, and they was chillaxing, and afterwards, and he told the guy, I'm a senator. The guy started asking questions. He asked about herb and why it's not legal here and all these kind of things. And afterwards, when we were getting ready to leave, still talking, them guys lit a joint that was, passing it around. And I'm like, you tried to give it to me. I'm like, nah, man, I told you I'm a senator. I don't. He said, what? Yes. He said, how you mean you're a Rasta man, smoker? I said, well, everybody does. Plus I told you I'm a public official. I can't. He said, man. So he looked at the other guy, and the other guy looked at me, and he said, man, I was staying up here in the house up here. Let's go up at my house. I looked at the guy to see what the guy was saying. We're like, let's go, man. So we went. And they were up there and they were smoking and stuff, and I'm still not touching anything, and I haven't made any public declaration or admissions of of smoking herb or any oil, I mean, I've done it before. I'm like Obama and them, I've done it, I did inhale, but I don't make any public admissions, because just to keep things on track. So I'm sitting there talking, and he said, man, listen, I started talking about the legalization stuff. He said, well, why you don't? He said, man, I don't want to fit the stereotype. I don't want that to be my legacy. And he said, the guy look at me, joint in his hand, like, he look at his joint, he look at me, he said, look at what I'm doing. He said, why not? So what if it's your legacy? He said, why are you running from it? So what if you're the one who made it legal here? I mean, why not? Isn't that what Rasta stands for anywhere? Why not on the, so what Rasta stands for a lot more? Like, but isn't that some sacrament or something like that? I'm saying, no, this other guy that's sitting there, he knows me from, we go to the same beach a lot, and we never did anything together. He's watching, he like just listening to the conversation, and I'm like, man, he made a lot of sense, why not? So what if, that has happened, to be honest, right now, if you hear them talk about me, it's like they make it seem like that's my only topic.
Yes.
Not that legalization was the low-hanging fruit for economic. It was for two things. My main purpose for legalization wasn't about this economy, about all this big business. It's about freedom. Okay, so that we won't be persecuted and prosecuted for herb. You understand me? The freedom to be able to have access to grow a few plants without the police coming in and kicking in your door and taking people away from their families. That was the main purpose. It wasn't about this super industry that exists. We know herb sells. We know all, Peter last time don't sing about this, is not new. Doctors smoke it, politicians use it, lawyers and teachers too. Mm-hmm. I mean, this ain't nothing new. The truth is, everybody who do it hide because of what happens when you're looked at as a ganja user. So when he gave me that push there, it really resonated with me, like, positive, you're really being coward. You're really, not exercising an opportunity that you have within an opportunity that you have. So I like, to hell with it. I put forward. But what I did also, I did after the decrim stuff was easy things. Law enforcement came to me about that decriminalization. They call it, they tell me to relieve them of the Monday morning traffic jam at the courts for these dime bags and, what these arrests that police make over the weekend with, dime bags and what's not. Okay? So the decrim came into effect there and what's not. But when it came to the legalization for medicinal purposes, and we chose medicinal as the path of, you can at least prove some points to people that it's not just about getting high. We actually did a referendum, which is a survey of the people. So with that successful referendum, like, when people want to come up with their talk, I say, listen, that's not just my desire. The people support that initiative. I feel the best way to represent the people is to know what they want, and then you just pursue the way. That's what politics is about, helping people, right? So policies that help people. So we did that referendum, and it was successful, that the people did want it, and we started working, and we took delegation of representatives to who were willing. A lot of senators didn't even didn't go. They didn't want to go. They did, and went to Colorado. We went to Washington State. Why we wanted to see what it looked like. In legal underground. It was amazing because a brethren that went with us from St. Thomas, a Rasta brethren who paid his own way to go. And he was already in his 60s, And just to watch I kept asking, having to, are you all right? I kept asking him that because, he was looking so like, like like I don't want to say a child in Wonderland. Because it wasn't unchildish about it. It was more like it's more like you watching the sky open and you watching God coming out of the sky. If you know that concept, right?
Yeah.
And he said, man, he said, I never thought I would have see this. I never thought I would see ganja legal. And that was an amazing trip that we took there. We had looked like the odd couple. A man and his wife went. A white guy who a business owner from St. Thomas. They paid their own way. They went. Some of my staff went with me. Another senator went. He's now lieutenant governor. And and the news lady, one of the people from the Daily News, a newspaper here on the island, was on the trip also. All of us, we went in one van and we were together the whole time. And so, it was a strange mix alarm because the whole time the news lady, she's trying to capture, she's following the story and reporting back home, but she's harassing me, trying to get me to smoke a joint for the camera. And I mean, she tried so hard during that trip to catch me off guard with something, it was like, hey, because, that $1 million shot, and I told her one of these days, I'm going to get up on a big stage, probably some real big stage, baby. And in honor of Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and all those who suffered real blows and real licks for pushing forward the legalization, and said this is for them. And I really feel, and I've been on the national stage speaking at various conferences, etc. And I feel this, until we get the government leaderships of the world to take their claws off of it and at least allow for free access. The business part, and regulating that part, that's expected. If you're going to sell something to the public, and then they have to ensure it's clean, etc., etc. But the access part, the freedom to have enough to satisfy your personal needs or personal desires, that should be more free to happen. Okay, we understand policies that requires licenses and permits if you're going to sell anything. Any shops in a store or any place else, you need that. So we get that. But for the same original reason, that the freedom to grow the plant without prosecution is what we really want to happen for the Rasta community and for people in general. We lead in the way, but there's more people who ain't even Rasta who appreciating the push that we've been making. So those are some of the laws that stand out that have passed.
Yes.
Certain things regarding budget and directing funds to various areas.
We have the international president for the Ethiopian World Federation, Attorney Sharon Murray Powell, in the comment section. I told you that we have the best comment section on the internet. But she is saying that the VI is the first jurisdiction in the United States to recognize Rastafari sacramental use. Can you speak about that?
Yes. So Rastafari Tazadi, he was on the trip with us. Afterwards, he was an employee within my office as well, and he ensured that that we stick something inside there for the Rastaman specifically, okay, to ensure that we recognize that we paid the price, we paid the cost, and we should. So we got that stuck inside there where it allows the rights for Rasta, and of course they have some regulations, and you have to be part of a registered Rasta organization, like the House of Naya being one of the other houses, and even any group that claims to use cannabis as a sacrament, so long as they're registered, Their members can grow up to 12 plants for personal use, okay, and X amount of seedlings. And the house, any organization that's duly registered, like the House of Nyabingi, can grow like a church and grow on behalf of its members. But this is not for sale. They can use it for consumption, for sharing, for whatever they do. And at Rasta events, they are allowed the freedom to smoke herb and have herb there, doing what they're doing. And that's what Sacramento use allows for the Rastas in the Virgin Islands. And last year, the current governor, who's on his last term, last year, he had a Rastafari Day in the Virgin Islands and passed a resolution proclaiming July 23rd of each year as Rastafari Day in the Virgin Islands. And as you know, that's His Imperial Majesty's birthday.
Yes. We had a panel discussion. We had Tafari and some other ones from St. Croix and St. Thomas on this program talking about the Rastafari Day. So
yeah, and he's been instrumental. Tafari has been instrumental all along the way. That's my brethren. We've gone to a lot together, a lot of growing together. I support him because I've seen him going through the struggle, just trying to keep up the Rastafari, not trying, but keeping up the Rastafari culture, Rastafari liberty, trying to keep the heart of the churchical factor together, of the fact that we need some place to congregate besides at reggae shows, Rasta and reggae music and smoking herb. But the same way how they study the Bible and read of His Majesty's will and desires and follow speeches, not just to regurgitate them in words, but action, and particularly also with the agricultural front. So I give him much credence. I've seen him grow. I've seen him elevate. I've seen him in a situation where that same Deborah Frieden that I was talking about when we were at her house in being pressed, because we usually explosive and expressive, and she said, "Please, I'm trying to understand," because both of them were getting frustrated because he was trying to explain something to her and she wasn't grasping it. And you know how when we talk, we sound like we angry. So, and it was a real touching moment because she was in tears and she said, "Please, I'm really trying to understand. Please just break it down and explain it to me like you're talking to a kindergartner, right?" So he sat down, enjoying, and he broke down from His Majesty's birth, come forward. And while he was talking, myself, another Rasta brethren that was there, the lady, her husband, and she was taping it. And along the way, nobody didn't tell me this, I was there, And he started talking and getting in depth about the birth and what occurred in the environment, what occurred in the universe, what occurred as it relates to thunder, lightning, mysticism that occurred during that time. And man, you could just see. For me, I was in tears. The lady's husband was in tears. The lady was in tears. Just to feel the presence of the Most High flowing through. You know what I mean? It's just like when you're in the church and you catch the Spirit. And I saw that stuff. So I saw the light in him at that point. And I get that. None of us is perfect, and up to now, we still got treated. But I've seen that he's on a cause, he's on a purpose, and
man,
and it's a righteous purpose. So we've been supporting each other along the way. Again, it's hard for him because he's been criticized as well heavily because he ramping with a politician. You follow me? So there were some brethren who tried to outcast him, are you dealing with that politician? But I'm like, yeah. But my issue is some of those were being hypocrites as well, because when they want help, they come.
They come.
You know what I mean? But then they stand up there with the crowd and bonfire. And I'm not asking, I wasn't asking for no exemptions, but are you gonna bonfire on me? You know me, you know my work, you know that I'm inside there. I'm in Pharaoh's house trying to open the door. Okay? And you ain't tell them, throw me to the pit to you, and So it's a catch-22, you know, and where you expect the most support is where you don't get it. I mean, even right now, I'm running for governor. Even right now, even all the Senate races, and a lot of them get involved. But if the righteous community, the Rasta community really step up, but politicians count on Rasta not voting. I had other senators tell me when I was pushing for legalization, oh, Senator Nelson, you studying them Rasta, your Rasta brethren, them, they don't vote, they don't help. So, you know, not that the church people don't vote and the Rasta people don't vote. So you keep pushing that nonsense. You know, I've had other senators tell me that.
Okay.
You know, we know politics is people drive policy, and we could make a difference. And I'm not asking us to get into politics. I don't like politics. You know, I like to tell people straight up what it is. I don't like to have to curb my tongue because I don't like to be like the preacher who feel like he can't preach freely because he have to curb his tongue because he don't want to lose the congregation. Politics the same thing. You follow me? But you don't have to do it. Is what I've proven already. You got to be willing to stand on your conviction and explain to the people why you're making the decisions you make. All may not agree with you still, but if you just speak the truth as you see it and be open to if something, if information come to you that cause you to alter what you saw as your position, that's healthy also. That's not weak. You shouldn't stay a position just because that's the position you had. If new information that you didn't have is presented to you, and it's right, the responsible thing to do is to make an adjustment of your perspective based on that, ain't it so? So we ourselves got to, even in the Rasta culture, we gotta get beyond this, you know, bonfire and everything. That's reason, and we know that the community has a fright of Rastafari. When we talk to them, we gotta put that in perspective too. You know, we can't get loud and next you know we burn in fire. You know what happened at the Rasta conference here in '97? That it hurt me bad because we was the same ism and schism that we sing about and talk about in song happened at a big Rasta gathering. Rasta was here from all over the Caribbean. And it was Irie, all the elders from Jamaica were here and stuff. Abonaji was even here and stuff. Look, it was Irie, and at the public gathering, you know, where the politicals were and other people were, okay? There's an open session for the public and everybody. You know what unfolded? And I was the one videotape. I had it on camera. I was the one videotaping it for Rash Shalom. They started arguing about whether it's His Imperial Majesty or King Emmanuel, and they got into a religious, secular argument. And conversation broke down into, wasn't a conversation anymore. And I got bonfire. So of course, you know, people are already a little jittery, you know. It's the hardcore Rasta thing a lot of people don't even come to. Pew! They started jetting out of there, you know, and I'm like, look at this. At a pinnacle moment for us.
Yes.
You know, there's a breakdown because one group is, you know, and they started getting this thing, I mean, and it got, you know, there ain't nothing physical happening, but it was violent words being
wordical
right.
War. Talk to us about why you have decided to become a panelist at this upcoming conference that's being put on by our beloved sister Aisha.
Diana Hollywood. Because like you say, I mean, I'm on the front line. I'm on the fight, you know, and you know, she's having a credible event where, again, the whole idea of sustainable, you know, being sustainable in this business, being, you know, we have to realize that we're going to have to get together and do things in a way that is authentic to us, so that we can endure and have longevity in this thing, and not just a pop-up startup. And so it makes sense. Like I've been known for, and I am still having this year, you know, at 420 and still an advocacy route at my place at Serenity's Nest and Wasn't, and a concert on the 19th, which y'all are going to be to, and I think y'all are going to be on the 20th. But I had to support her and to continue to be a voice. And there's things I need to say to, and Scott, it need to resonate with all of us that we are making headway and we have made waves, and it's the Rasta redemption time, and I just want to just big up everybody who has done what they have done, and just give some perspective from this journey to now, and that there's still work to be done. And this is part of the work. So I can't get tired now. I can't get weary now. You follow me? So it's part of the work, and why not help Sister Aisha? We work together, pushing agriculture forward at the Department of Agriculture, and cannabis is part of agriculture as well. We see marijuana as a herb to smoke, but marijuana is food. Marijuana is medicine. Cannabis is clothing. Cannabis is building material. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So why not? So I'm definitely honored to be a part of it. I'm not. I don't know. I can't tell you about what I tell you. What I can tell you about growing is what I learned in the research. I've never grown. Maybe a couple plants here or there just to try my luck. But so I can't tell you that I've done those things. But I know that there's value in knowing how to do things more efficiently in this thing, because again, they want to increase their yields, especially with those who have specific count of plants that you can grow. Like those guys in Oregon said they only allow, I think, 15 plants, so they learn how to grow them as big as possible. You follow me? Yeah, I'm looking at towering trees, 15, 16, up to 20 feet tall trees. We may not can get them up to that, but we can definitely get more yields on these plants and bigger, fatter buds and better quality smokes and medicines by some of these professionals in the industry who, and I say in the industry, and I say that with a little, because some of the real pioneers, they may not even have ever come above ground. You follow me? The truth is, okay, but there are some who've developed the craft over time, who can come to us and are present in the industry, who are and advancing, that could really help give value to what individuals are doing as it relates to growing in the industry. And beyond growing, I'm going to talk about the other opportunities that exist beyond just buying and selling herb.
Okay.
There's a whole industry that follows. There's a whole many aspects that follow that, from hotel and tourism with the hotel rooms and places to stay, and food places, and it goes on and on. Courier services, you name it.
What would you tell to your fellow Crucians who are there in St. Croix about coming to this conference and the importance of purchasing their ticket and being in the room at the first year of this conference? Because I always say that the first year of these kind of events is good because you have access. When things get big,
Right.
sometimes you don't get access to the panelists. You don't get, because everything is so massive after a while. But, if you really want to get in on the ground floor and meet some of the stakeholders, I always encourage. I used to do a conference in Jamaica, the Jamaica Music Conference. So I'm very familiar with conferences. But talk to us. Why do you think your fellow VI family should be at this conference and buy their ticket?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. If you have any interest in cannabis and participating in the industry, or even if you're just curious about what's really going on and what the possibilities are, and it makes sense. Is the price is not too high? It's $100. It's right here at home. You don't have to travel anywhere. She's bringing professionals in to talk to you, and some people you think you're good, and you may be, but if you feel you're so good that you don't need to know anything else, then you have a problem. I mean, you already started. You've reached your point, your peak, and now you started going down. But as long as you open up to receiving more, you're gonna get more. And I think Sister Aisha, Diana Collingwood, has put together a good panel of individuals to really offers, and especially in this is 420. Okay, besides the parties, besides the 420 parties, and get a smash and see who got the best herb, and see who win the cup, and see who comes to the taster's choice, and after the rally, it's about having something that can last. So I definitely encourage people, if you're in it already, if you want the undergrounds, if you're one of the permittees, the licensees who's already been granted, it makes sense to come. Even if you're a dispensary, going to be one of the dispensary owners, it makes sense to come, because you want to have the best buds, you want to have the best quality product in your stores, and these are ways that could also help you to learn to look for the best product and to ensure that things are grown a certain way. The integrity of the industry is very important. It has been underground for all these years, and we know if word gets out that such and such have bad herb or something, then the same thing is going to happen, where you won't get the sales. Quality is the mainstay at the end of the day. And this is a good way to help to enhance the quality of herb that you can grow and participate and take advantage of other opportunities that might be available. And what's very, very important in conferences, as you know, is the networking that occurs. You linking up direct links with individuals who are, have knowledge in the industry or have experience in the industry. And this is where conferences take a lot of place. And she said it real nice. So where she's having it is it's on agricultural grounds. It's actually by the largest water aquifer in the territory, and it's outdoors, tented and stuff. It's set up, but it's in a historical area as well. So I think the environment is conducive to learning. I believe that, particularly with the topic in which it's going to be discussed. So I look forward to being part of it, and just because again it's part of the unfolding of something that I believe the Virgin Islands is going to look. Here's a truth: we are already under the radar, are known for very good herb. Being where we are, as close to the equator as we are, there. I've heard people who grow in other areas who come here, and even the argument about outside or indoor, which one is better, and talk about the density of the oils. And the other Caribbean have similar, but the density of the oils being produced here in the Caribbean, in the Virgin Islands in particular, is a lot more dense. So the quality of medicines. And I heard Steve Cubby tell me this. He called me after he was here for about 6 months. And when he went back, he called me and he said, "Hey, the herb from the Virgin Islands saved me." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's a skier, and he had a wipeout and broken bones and all these things. And doctors had him down for the count for a long time. And he said he made oils with herb from the Virgin Islands. And he said the richness of the oil that he got brought him back to a lot quicker recovery than the doctors. Everybody was wondering, like, what? That was amazing. What happened? And he swear all out, bless him in his grave now, that is the herb that he get from St. Croix, that was because of what was happening in the atmosphere, that subtropical region, and that cool, warm thing that happens in the Caribbean. At night it gets cool with the dew falling, and it gets back. So what it does there, and the ability to do these, to grow. Think about now the ability to grow where you're not having to do jungle guerrilla farming, where you gotta move things around, capture and all them kind of things, where you can leave it and let it get the best results. And I myself, I'm not going to get in that debate. I feel that when you're outdoor, that there's value to that. There's indoor climate, environment control, people feel, but then you have to be clear in timing of flushing and all these kind of things. So if you're going to do things, understand what you have to do when you're providing supplements to a plant, because you're not in its natural environment. Follow me? So I think there's discussions there, and there's value in both ends, and this is a place where you learn it. at these kind of conferences.
Yes.
But they're individuals who have tried practices and proven practices, best practices, and hey, this is what you want. And again, what's beautiful about this is that it's like Rasta taking their place. You follow me at the table.
Yes.
There's a conference and it ain't big, but the value of it is a conference being put on by the Rasta community about legalization and stuff, and what comes along with it, and the Office of Cannabis Regulation, which is the regulation arm here in the territory. I can't say that they've done it because they haven't verbalized it, but they support what she's doing. I was going to say that they endorse this, but they support her action, what she's doing, because the more knowledge the people have, the better they can participate in it.
Exactly. And we know she's bringing a standard of excellence. That's part of her brand.
She's good with that.
Yeah, we know she's gonna have a standard.
And as an agriculturist in particular, she's trained, her degree in agriculture. So I want people to know that's why there's value to this. She's not just approaching this from ganja, but as a plant, and how adding that to the collection of what we already do and produce, and intermingling that, and even using it along with other herbs and plants to do what we do. So, I give her credence for that. Again, many times we talk about marijuana, ganja, cannabis. They try to push it like it's a Rasta talk or urban reggae music talk. That might be happening during recreational times, but there's serious talk to be had, and these are the places that it happens. So,
Right. Before we seal up, just tell us what outcomes would I like to see from this conference? When it's all said and done, given that you're a frontline soldier, given that you know what is needed in terms of ownership, because one of the things that I know we are discussing is a concept called Rastafari food sovereignty, meaning that Rastafari ownership from the seed to the table, from the transportation to the logistics to the storage to the post-harvest to the value-added goods, having Rastafari ownership of all parts of the value chain, so that we can ensure, our ITAL standard, and also that, that this plant that we have suffered so much for, that we are also participating in the bountiful industry that is, global. So what outcomes would you like to see from this conference?
That we as a Rasta community, that we as people of the territory, we are people of the Virgin Islands, are more comfortable operating in that space, that we feel more knowledgeable, that we have a sense of direction of how we might want to participate, what it takes. So, knowledge is power. And if we're going to participate in an industry, the more knowledge we can have about it, the better for us. So the outcome I want from the conference is people to gain the knowledge so that they're making better decisions about not just opening a store, opening a grow facility, but it lasting, and it has, it's ongoing, and can provide a way for their families and other Virgin Islanders to participate in the economic growth, which can be provided by businesses in cannabis.
Give thanks. This was a classic episode. I can tell you, I really full joy. This was part one, but we don't do one interview here. As I said, this is their new home. I know the Lion Voice audience. I see in the comments. I know them love the vibes. Put some emojis. Put some fire. Make us feel the energy. How you feel about positive? Did he pass the Lion Pride test? Is he irie? I feel like the brethren is very irie. I'm glad to know that we have someone with your expertise, because I always say, His Majesty is rising up people for every facet, of nation building. Hold on, one of your VI family put some fire emojis. Danisha, who is in St. Croix, she said, pure fire for the eye, you know what I mean? So them love the eye. So we give thanks. Put some comments, Ross Roots out of Kentucky. You know what I mean? Yes.
It's our time, man. It's our time.
Queen battle. Yeah, man. Put the emojis. They make the man feel the love.
Give thanks.
As a first-time guest here, we're gonna ask how people can support that. I'm gonna have the come back just to talk about the run for governor.
Yes, sir.
Because this is very interesting. The brethren is running for governor of the VI, So as Lion Pride, we want to support the brethren, just in terms of the Lion Pride, giving some strength, financial strength, you know what I mean? We're non-aligned media, so we don't take no political stance with any party or anything, but the brethren is a Rastafari, and we want to expose our audience to ones who can help, and you can see that the brethren is using his posts to do powerful things for the community, and he still has managed to stay connected with the community. So we give thanks. It's a positive is how I live. This is George, son, Tosh. Okay.
Yes, I give thanks, man. Yes, how I live is my brand. I have wristbands, T-shirts, and the idea of it's a non-secular way of telling people to live righteous.
Yes, you see,
Aisha,
Empress Diana Collingwood, also known as Sister Aisha, is here with us. So we give thanks, family, for everyone who full joy this episode. Again, this is a classic. We love it. The Brethren's Journey. I'm sure that there is a young youth that's going to watch this in Zambia, in Tanzania, and see that Rastafari, you cannot put Rastafari in a box. That anything that you aspire to do, once it's positive, you can attain it. The Brethren is a living thing. And that's why we said Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media, because yes, I'm a Naya Bingi man. Yes, we have 12 Tribe. Yes, we have Bobo Shanti. Yes, we have our EWF family, we Orthodox family, with non-aligned brethren and sistren. But the thing that unites us, is what we have to build on. We don't want to, we can agree to disagree, but there is so much that unites us, and that's what we want to focus on this platform. We know that in this Armageddon, united we stand, divided we will fall. So we are here just introducing the global family to our different assets in the field. This is one of our battlefield assets. I know Empress Diana Collingwood is looking to form a think tank out of this conference that will help to strategize about ganja policy throughout the region. So we know brethren are coming in from Jamaica, other regions. So it's going to be a powerful reasoning as we initiate. And again, the architecture for the next 50 years of Rastafari is being built today. And our elders had to go through great tribulation, great persecution. They survived. And now our generation, our job is to build the institutions that will live beyond personality, that will set the foundation, that will employ our young people, because that's where we reach as a movement now. We have to be able to employ our young people. They can have a salary, they can support their families while doing Rastafari work. That is our job as the generation X, and the elder millennials and them generation that we have that job to really set the foundation. So I want to just open the floor today. I can give us any final sounds. One Africa at home and abroad.
Sure,
Our international president, powerful interview, VI in the house, rise and shine, Rastafari, positive people for a positive change, Rastafari lives, and he rules and he reigns. The thing that attracted I to Rastafari is that he was living, is that I could study. I didn't have to guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't have to theorize, and that's why I tell people, give I the teachings of His Majesty, because it's clear. You know what I mean? And I don't fault nobody for any other teaching where they I follow. But I man is straight on the path there with Haile Selassie the first. So give us your final sounds, Senator Positive.
Okay, give thanks. I would like to give credence to Dr. Harris Campbell, who wrote the book Rasta Resistance.
Yes.
He came here at our calling, myself and Tafari, as we had a African Liberation Day event, and his message to the Rasta community was, it's time for Rasta to come out the bush and take the quantum leap forward. Now more than ever. That was years ago. Now more than ever during this redemption time, now is not the time for Rasta to fall back and be silent. All the things that we've said, they're practicing now, they're pursuing now. And it's important that we don't get left behind, that there's not a space at the table for us. There must be a space at the table for us. And we know how power is. They won't just give it to us. We have to take our space. We know what His Majesty had to go through in rising to the throne, okay, in preserving Ethiopia as a free nation. And we have to protect our way, not to be gods and lords, but to be represented. And I'm not talking about necessarily in politics, but any discourse that's taking place now as it relates to way of life, because Rasta is life. We've proven that. Our lifestyle is trending right now. So let's not lose our voice at a time that is very necessary. Like Lion Voice is here for us. Lion Voice Rising is talking about the period of this information age, the age of Aquarius, which we say is attached to the age of Judah, which is this time for truth to be revealed. And for those who's been revealing it all along, it is redemption time. So let's live in the now. Let's live in this power. I appreciate the platform which you have provided here at Lion Voice. And I want us to understand the strength we have. Like you said, one full basket. All right? Every nickel make a buckle. You get it? So it's up to us to come together to continue to do this and understand that they're not going to like this. Understand that they continue to try to undermine this, but be not afraid. Let us say, if Jah is standing by your side, then there's no reason to be afraid. All right? Rasta time is now. It's always been. They have recognized it and told us so. I'm happy, I'm honored, and the word of His Imperial Majesty.
Give thanks. There you have it, family. Another classic episode. Tomorrow night, we'll have a representative from the Nyabinghi House in Jamaica. Big celebration taking place for the 60th anniversary of His Majesty visit to Jamaica. We're going to have someone, maybe a panel. We'll drop the flyer tomorrow. So stay tuned. Our regular Wednesday live will be there. And then Thursday, we're also going to be doing a live leading up to our trip to St. Croix. We'll be in St. Croix this strong and at the conference. So we will do a little bit of vlogging, but we will have a special episode following so that the item can get the highlights and some of the, just feel the vibes. The Lion Voice will be there. So all of our VI Lion Pride, make sure you buy your ticket. VI have the most expensive ital on the planet, $30 for a plate of ital, and VI, the item can afford the conference. So I don't want to hear nobody complain about ticket price. I never see a $30 ital plate till I reach St. Croix. So the item, them have it. So I want to see the VI family turn out to this conference, overflowing. The description, the link for the tickets is in the description of this video. Even for the global family, if you can attend, still buy the ticket. You know how we do it. If you can, as Lion Pride, let's make sure that Empress Diana have the budget that she needs, not just to break even, but to be able to see some profit so that next year it can be bigger and better, and also that she can have more budget and staff. We want to start funding these initiatives that we see are strategic, again, to our global architecture, and she has the competence to carry it through. So let's put the capital in our hand by supporting the platform and making this thing so powerful as it can be. So look in the description of this video. The link to the conference is there. I'm going to get Senator Positive's information. So if ones want to contribute to the brethren and his campaign and his works, we'll also put that in the description of the video. And we're going to continue to build here, family. Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media is here. We are rising and we won't stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion Voice.
Yes, I see.
By the powers to chant, Jackie by the powers to chant, Rastafari, the lion's voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Ganja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I do. Empress on the front line, we need you. Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Cushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Empress Manel, a lion scientist. Oh, you're wrong. Universally unfold, be told. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the Lion's Voice, Rastafari.
Yo, blazing fire, yeah man, this is Racindio out of Belize, and the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, right? Yeah man, we blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Racindio said that, blazing fire, lion boy.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping yeah. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.